Discussed with Republican Congressman Kinzinger of Illinois. He's a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. But first, Congressman, thank you for being here. Another headline is that Jim Comey, the former director of the FBI, will testify. What do you want to hear from him if he does get in front of the Senate committee next week?
It's pretty easy. I just want to hear what happened. I want to hear the truth. You know, it seems like everything nowadays, every new piece of information comes through a political spectrum. And if you're on one end of the spectrum, you yell that everything is fake news. If you're on another end of the spectrum, you yell that it's the end of the world and we need impeachment immediately. And I think really there's a great deal of folks that are just sitting around now, kind of worn out. It's like every engine's been redlined, and eventually they say, we just want the truth, okay? Just tell us what happened, and then legally we can come to our own decision. So I hope that Jim Comey, and I think he will, I think he's an honorable man, through whether it's his testimony to the Senate, his testimony to Robert Mueller in the independent investigation, just tell us what happened, and then we can make a determination from there what to make of that.
Two quick questions. One, do you believe there are legitimate questions to be asked about any potential interference, any potential collusion, and the extent of Russian interference in the election? Do you believe that those are real and legitimate questions?
Yeah, absolutely. They are legitimate questions. They're answers we need. I think the thing we need to keep in mind in all of this is, you know, again, our tendency in a hyper-partisan era is to look at everything through the lens of what it means for Republicans or Democrats or, you know, Trump or Nancy Pelosi. The truth is, one of the great things about our democracy that's made us last for so long as we have is our faith in the institution and the ability to hold leaders, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, accountable. So, you know, look, I'm excited about a lot of the things President Trump's doing, but there are legitimate questions about the campaign in Russia, and there are legitimate questions about his discussions with Jim Comey. And if there's nothing, we just need answers. That's it. It's real easy.
Well, one of the things the president is doing, and actively, maybe as actively as anything else, is calling this a witch hunt, saying that it is a hoax, that there are no legitimate questions. And in fact, just this morning, he said the only real story is the unmasking and the leaks. Do you agree with the president?
No, look, the unmasking and the leaks are a big deal, and I think to push those aside would be incorrect. Those are an issue, but so is the broader investigation.
By the way, in this situation, why are they an issue?
I think it's an issue because, well, first off, the unmasking itself, you know, the question of how do you reveal the names of United States citizens, that's very special. That's a big deal. And when we're dealing with
is there any indication that it was done wrongly in this situation?
That's important.
Not in general. I get that it's a conversation in general.
Potentially. Yeah. Well, look, it's potentially. That's what we're trying to find out as well, too. But look, here's the point. Everything here is a question. Everything we need to have answers to. And I think the idea that on one hand, you know, if you're on the left, you say we need answers to this, not that. If you're on the right, you say we need answers to this, not that. The average American's sitting around worn out saying we just need answers to what's going on. And that's part of keeping our government accountable. If there's certain areas that are never investigated, people lose faith in the institution.
But certain things are more of a distraction than others. There has been no significant development that I'm aware of, maybe you know something that I don't, of where this unmasking was seen as being done inappropriately or wrongly. We've had intel official after intel official tell us this is what you do when you are studying the Russians, and it seems that an American was having an inappropriate conversation. You find out who that American was. And that's what was done here. And I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate issues there, but when the questions are used to distract from the Russia probe and what collusion there may have been and what the interference was about, then that's not an equal assessment. That's why I'm asking.
So, yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you, but there's a question of, you know, how did Michael Flynn's name become public and things like that, which, again, we need the answer for that. But as far as distraction, I agree. These are all issues we need answers to. Is this a witch hunt? The answer to that question for me is no. This is an attempt at government, Republican and Democrat, to get legitimate answers to concerns that the American people have. Because I just want to finish up on that with this. Because I don't care necessarily, I mean, I do as a partisan, about what 2018 and 2020 looks like. But my broader concern as an American, as somebody that's, you know, worn the uniform and continues to, is the loss of faith in the institutions of this country on both sides of the political aisle. Rebuilding the faith in the institutions is essential to the stability of this democracy.
And that's why I have to ask you about Devin Nunes, because if you want people to have faith in the ability of its elected officials to conduct an investigation in anything that even resembles a nonpartisan environment, how do you explain Devin Nunes, who said he stepped away, now his staff is playing with what words were used, and issuing subpoenas, again, reportedly without consulting the ranking party member from the other side, the ranking Democrat, which is exactly what they came after him for with ethics charges the first time when he stepped away? How do you explain to the American people how that's okay?
Well, I can't. I don't know the detail. This all broke last night. I know Devin, and I happen to know him to be an honorable American, but this question, I don't know the answer to. And so I hope he reveals and comes out and discusses it. I thought he stepped away from the probe. Congressman Rooney and Congressman Conway are leading the probe on the House Intel Committee, both very capable people. And so the question in terms of this, I don't know. I've read some reports that say it's legal for him to do it by just simply, I guess, advising the minority. I don't know the answer to that. Again, I know him to be an honorable man, but this is a question I think that he probably has to address.
Adam Kinzinger, thank you very much. Appreciate having you on the show as